Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, 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 whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, 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 whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Spokane, where our mission is to join together to create a nourishing, liberal religious home and to champion justice, diversity, and environmental stewardship in our wider world, or as we say in short, to create community, find meaning, and work for justice. Welcome to one and all. I'm going to begin, as always, by embracing all that you bring with you to this space, all of your unique beliefs, your background, your lifestyle, your experiences, all that helps make you who you are is welcome here this morning. And as always, this includes those who hear me say this each Sunday, as well as those who might be joining us for the first time today. You're equally welcome and appreciated. And of course, it includes those of you who are streaming with us. So great to have you with us today, too. We're going to start with, I'm going to start with a little bit about last night's NAACP dinner. How many of you were able to go to that? A few of us were able to be there. It was really an extraordinary event for a couple of reasons. One, it was a celebration of the NAACP's 100th year in Spokane. Yeah, we can applaud for that because if anybody looks at the archive, they want to know that we were really excited about that, because we are. Danny Glover was the keynote, one of the keynotes. Danny Glover, the actor and activist, and he spoke briefly, but his words were just so timely, I think. And he said, after 100 years, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he said, after 100 years, we have to realize that the NAACP has to be about more than the advancement away from racism in our country. Not that it doesn't have to keep doing that, but he said, the issue of our age is climate change. And the NAACP now has to be about saving humanity. It has to be about saving humanity. And I just, for him to broaden that circle, to include so many of us, was both beautiful and profound. And that's where I'm at. It's where I hope that our religion will return to, rather than enclosing on ourselves, opening up to our connections to all that is. And it was just so beautiful to hear Danny Glover speak those words last night. So I wanted to share them this morning. I think it's ultimately what he was getting at was really a form of creation spirituality, which I'll be talking about a little bit later on in today's service. But wanted to start by sharing that with you. So I also have just a few announcements to go through, but I'm going to start real quickly by inviting Catherine Alexander forward to make a quick announcement on behalf of the board, and then I'll mention some other things before we take a few minutes together.
So I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm available today if you want to talk, and to ask you to please pay attention. Not only that you get the Thursday update and that you go get the Sun, but that you read them. Because it's the only way we can communicate with you. And so the answer, for instance, the feedback from our security session is in the Thursday update. So if you haven't read it, there it is. So please do that. If you're not getting either of them or you don't know how to get the Sun, please talk to either myself or Heather in the office. Thanks.
Okay, and John Lowe, are you still in the house? John Lowe is in the house. He's going to also come forward for a quick announcement about church safety and security. Speaking of which, right?
Thank you, Todd. Good morning. My name is John Lowe, and I am your UUCS Risk Management Team Lead, which also means I'm the lead of your sextons, the folks in these spiffy yellow vests who walk the parking lot. And we are having our introductory training session on September 21st from 10 until noon in the Sanger Room. And whether you're interested in the sexton program or just interested, we need more volunteers, or just interested in what we're doing and what we're doing to further safety within our congregation, you are all cordially invited to attend. So see you September 21st at the in the Sanger Room from 10 until noon. And there will be snacks. Thank you very much.
And thanks to John and Alyssa, who just actually last week went all the way over to the west side of the state in order to participate in training on church safety, particularly around active shooters. And that was that's how much they're doing for our congregation and care enough to travel across the state to do that. So thank you both very much. Okay, there is a climate strike march and rally happening this Friday at yes, woohoo! At 11:30, we're going to start gathering around the Rotary Fountain, and Erica would like to see us march in front of our church banner. So Erica is going to be in the back at the table. If you want to sign up or let her know if you have any questions about that. She's also going to be trying to put out an email this week to let everybody know the details. So please put that on your calendar. So, speaking of which, as I think all or most of you know, the renowned theologian Matthew Fox is going to be here 2 Sundays from now. speaking in our pulpit, which is just an extraordinary historical event for our congregation to have somebody of his renown here. I studied under Matthew Fox myself many years ago at his university in Oakland, and consider myself a creation spiritualist, so I'll be talking more about creation spirituality and a little bit about Matthew Fox in my sermon, but I do hope that you will put this on your calendar. It's going to be an extraordinary event to have a heretic like Matthew Fox grace our heretical pulpit. So just want to give you a heads up on that. So let's take a few moments now to greet one another as usual, and if you are joining us for the first time, you don't have to be shy. We're a very friendly group and are glad you are here. I completely forgot, didn't I?
Just mention it, you don't have to be in depth to say.
Can you do that at some point this morning, or is it too late? Nancy and Jeremy, Nancy Street.
Oh, yeah, I probably should, but I've got more to do, but I just can't
Kim, my wife, her celebration of life is
I'm sorry.
2 o'clock next Saturday here in the sanctuary.
I have to apologize. I didn't know that, so how did I miss that?
It happened quite a while back. It happened in July. It takes time to wrap up everything and really do some justice to her life.
Yeah, no, that's
So
pretty
Barry's
common.
going to be the, I don't know what the right title would be. Fish.
Barry's staying with me, yeah.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah. You know, he never said, he said, I have an old friend, some old friends that I'm coming in to meet.
He's often stayed with us, but we've got family coming in.
Yeah. But it's 2 o'clock here.
Yeah. Well, I understand he's actually going to be the celebrant on Sunday, maybe.
Yes, he is, yeah.
I'm hoping with family here, I don't know if we'll be able to make it next Sunday, but I hope to. Thanks, Tom.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry I
do two together. Yeah. Okay, before we light our chalice, I have just a couple more announcements. This just in. Actually, this one is one I missed, but for our children and family ministry team is looking for volunteers for teachers this fall. We need volunteers about 2 Sundays a month, starting in October, ending in January, for 3 to 5-year-olds, 1st to 5th graders, and junior high and senior high. And all the class lessons will be fully prepared for you. Also looking for facilitators to help with Our Whole Lives, which is a very important program this time coming around for junior high and senior high. So you can register or look into it at the rainbow flag in the back of the room, and it says here that we have chocolate treats to entice you. And then next, bribery always works, especially chocolate. So also wanted to let you know that next Saturday we're going to be having a celebration of life here for Kim Clemens, for Dave's spouse. Where'd you go, Dave? There you are. So yeah, thanks for letting me know. And sorry I didn't make the connections earlier, but certainly for those who know Kim and Dave, her celebration of life will be here next Saturday at 2 o'clock. In fact, our next Sunday speaker, a former minister here, Barry Andrews, will be conducting that celebration of life. So now let's light our chalice. Chalice is our symbol of faith, the symbol of our unity and our solidarity, of our openness and our inclusion, of our community and our individual uniqueness. May this small flame be our offering of warmth to those who are cold and alone, and a light to those in darkness. May it be a flame that ignites justice in our world, and a beacon of hope to those in need, and may it reflect at least a spark of truth wherever truth has been lost, and cast a healthy shadow of doubt wherever it's been found.
On this traditional fall gathering of the waters, we celebrate both our unity beyond divisions and our return to our regular activities. What a wonderful day to introduce the famous theologian Matthew Fox. Matthew Fox might well be the most creative, the most comprehensive, surely the most challenging religious spiritual teacher in America. He has the scholarship, the imagination, the courage, the writing skill to fulfill this role at a time when the more official Christian theological traditions are having difficulty in establishing any vital contact with either the spiritual possibilities of the present or with their own most creative spiritual traditions of the past. He has, it seems, created a new mythic context for leading us out of our contemporary religious and spiritual confusion into a new clarity of mind and peace of soul by affirming rather than abandoning any of our traditional beliefs. Thomas Berry.
So today is our water communion, that annual ritual we have, in which symbolizes our return from our various vacations and trips and journeys over the past, particularly few weeks of summer, and returning to our common community, symbolized by the common watering hole here at the front of the sanctuary. So in a few moments, I'm going to invite those who would like. If you brought your own water for the ceremony, that's wonderful. If not, we have some pictures up here to sort of add to the watering hole, as I call it here. And then after the service, that water will be poured into our memorial garden. So this is a ritual for all ages, and in fact, our entire service is a multi-generational service today. So we're going to ask our little ones to stay in the service today. I'll try not to be too boring. If you want to go to sleep, you can. If it's okay for the adults, it's okay for you. And we're also going to be more than willing to tolerate a little bit of extra noise from those parents who aren't used to having kids in the room. So actually from the kids too. It's okay if you make a little extra noise, okay? So we're not going to actually, we're trying something new this time. We have a beautiful, beautiful piece of music that's very appropriate that's come our way. And so What a great day to welcome the choir back. They sound wonderful, and they are going to perform a beautiful piece. You can sing along with them while we're going through this ceremony. So you can just come up and pour water in and sit quietly back down while our choir sings for us and with us this morning.
Do sing with us. The words will be on the screen. We are living beneath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. I am alone, and I am searching, hungering for answers in my time. I am balanced at the brink of wisdom. I'm impatient to receive a sign. I move forward with my senses open. Imperfection, it be my crime. In humility I will listen. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living in the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. On this journey through thoughts and feelings, finding intuition, my head, my heart, I am gathering the tools together. I'm preparing to do my part. All of those who have come before me, band together and be my guide. Loving lessons that I will follow. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living in the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. When we'll get there, we'll discover all of the gifts that we've given to share have been with us since time's beginning, and we never noticed they were there. We can balance at the brink of wisdom, never recognizing that we've arrived. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. We are living beneath the great big dipper. We are washed by the very same rain. We are swimming in the stream together, some in power and some in pain. We can worship this ground we walk on, cherishing the beings that we live beside. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side. Loving spirits will live forever. We're all swimming to the other side.
Thank you. Thank you all. Welcome back. We're now going to kindle our candles of care for those who are most on our hearts and minds, and want to begin with a candle for church member Nancy Hand, who is going to be having back surgery tomorrow. Nancy says that she welcomes your cards, your text, and phone calls during recovery, and maybe downstream some visits. Also saw our friend Happy Watkins, Reverend Happy Watkins, at last night's dinner. He's continuing to go through lots of challenges as a minister who's lost a lot of people in his congregation, including another individual to tragic circumstances this past week. So he asked us to light a candle and think of him, and appreciates the cards and calls that so many of you send his way. And a candle of celebration for church member Devon Brayerbill, whose son Andrew was recently declared cancer-free after the treatments that he's been undergoing. Yeah. And then a very special candle. We don't have enough to light all the candles that she deserves, but Jane Cunningham is turning 90 tomorrow, so... Jane, we're only lighting one of our candles for you, celebrating your wonderful life and your life amongst our community today, but you're welcome to go blow them out after the service if you would like. We'll help you out with that if we have to. Well, let's take a moment of silence on behalf of others we might be thinking of today, and as always, you're welcome to name them aloud at this time if you'd like. Those named aloud and those embraced in our semi-silence, and all those who are suffering in our world at this hour, we hold in our community with compassion.
I wrote the following words for the Our Little Nature Chapel. We are one with the music of the universe and all the creatures who are a part of it. We are one with each leaf, each drop of water, each rock, each whisper of the wind, each bird's song. Breathe. Breathe in the colors, the sounds, the peace. Breathe. In, out. In, out. Namaste. We now gratefully give and receive this morning's offering, which sustains this community and its mission to the larger world.
It's the joy of my life to work with these people. It really is.
Thank you all, and Deb, thank you. It's nice for you to bring very special water into our water ceremony today. By the way, Matthew Fox is not coming to Spokane just to speak here. He's going to be here for the weekend as part of the One Piece, Many Paths annual Compassion Games and Earth and Spirit Festival. So that Saturday, the 28th, we're going to be having events at the Unity Spiritual Center on Bernard Street from 11:30 to 5:30. Matthew Fox will give a keynote address there from 12:30 until 2. And I once sat in a lecture with a group of ministers that Matthew Fox spoke at for 4 hours. Nobody even got up to take a break. He's fascinating to hear. So I hope that you'll have an opportunity to put that on your calendar as well. I consider creation spirituality my spirituality, the type that inspires me and that I practice, and often say that Matthew Fox may have written the book on creation spirituality, but it was my favorite creation mystic, John Denver, who wrote the hymnal. And so I have a collection of his complete lyrics here. And yesterday I was listening afresh to some of his songs, and he sang this one. This was actually part of the first set that he did in 1985 in the USSR as communism was coming to an end, the Cold War was ending, and he was invited, the first American performer in over 6 years, to perform with one of their most beloved musicians, and I won't go into that. But he wanted the first set to be his autobiographical stuff, and this was one of those. So when you hear the terms boy from the country and who loves the sun, you might think of Sunshine on My Shoulders and Country Boy, right? So you know who we're talking about here. But this one is actually called Boy from the Country. Because he called the forest brother, because he called the earth his mother, they drove him out into the rain. Some people even said the boy from the country was insane. Because he spoke to fish in the creek, he tried to tell us that the animals could speak. Who knows? Perhaps they do. And when he sings this, Denver always says, I know they do. How do you know that they don't? Just because they've never spoken to you. Boy from the country, he left his home when he was young. Boy from the country, he loves the sun. He tried to tell us that we should love the land. We just turned our heads and laughed, and we did not understand. Sometimes I think that boy from the country is the only one who sees, because the boy from the country doesn't want to see the forest for the trees. Boy from the country left his home when he was young. Boy from the country loves the sun. So again, with the renowned priest and theologian Matthew Fox coming to our pulpit in 2 weeks, I want to take the opportunity now to say a little bit about him and the movement that he started. I'm not going to go deeply into his biography. I just want to talk about what he's become known for, creation spirituality, and a little bit about how it came to be. Although for Fox it probably happened, or started at least a lot earlier, for most of us the creation spirituality movement began with the publication of his best-selling book, Original Blessing, in 1983. Contrary to the doctrine of original sin, creation spirituality is about what Fox calls the first law of creation, the belief that the world is good. After completing it, Genesis says, God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. Creation spirituality also emphasizes another verse from the first chapter of Genesis. God created mankind in his own image. In the image of God he created them. Male and female he created them. The idea that the world we live in is good, and that humanity looks just divine. obviously contradicts the more entrenched doctrine of original sin, that the world is fallen and human beings are born evil. Hence the title of Fox's book, Original Blessing. Original blessing, he insists, is far more ancient and biblical a doctrine and ought to be the starting point for spirituality. Original blessing ought to be the starting point for spirituality. Fox isn't alone in his analysis of the Bible. He cites, for example, Herbert Haig, a former president of the Catholic Bible Association, who wrote, "The doctrine of original sin is not found in any of the writings of the Old Testament." This is similar to what one of my favorite mystics, Erich Fromm, once said. The Old Testament does not take the position of humanity's fundamental corruption. Adam and Eve's disobedience to God is not called sin. Nowhere is there a hint that this disobedience has corrupted humanity. It's not there. The concept of original sin, rather, was invented by Augustine in the 4th century, really something he just sort of wrote about. It wasn't even a big core feature of his own thinking. And it didn't become official church doctrine until it was adopted by the councils of Trent in the 16th century, about the same time Unitarianism was being rediscovered in Eastern Europe. No matter how well substantiated nor how uplifting and inspiring his argument, however, the church authorities did not look upon all that Fox had made and concluded that it was very good. At the time, Cardinal Ratzinger, who would later become Pope Benedict, was head of the Congregation of Doctrine and Faith, formerly known as the Office of Holy Inquisition, until Vatican II in 1965 changed the name. In 1984, Ratzinger silenced Fox for a year, eventually fired him from his teaching position at Holy Names College in Oakland, California, and ordered his expulsion from the Dominican Order in 1993, about 9 years later. Although he has since embraced and been ordained in the Episcopal priesthood, Fox still considers Catholicism his chosen faith tradition. He's just not allowed to participate in it, formally at least. As for creation spirituality, let me begin by explaining what it is not. Creation spirituality has nothing to do with creationism, so rest assured. The belief, that is, that the world was literally created in 6 days and is only 6,000 years old. On the contrary, creation spirituality fully embraces science. Well, it fully embraces silence, too. Though not being silenced. It fully embraces science, especially evolution. And by creation refers to the entire 13.7 billion year history of the entire universe and everything in it. The second half of the phrase, spirituality, is a little more complicated, at least for me it is. In general, the word spiritual refers to disembodied or non-material things. For most, spirituality is about transcending this world and its woes. But creation spirituality is all about being both in and being of the world. The beautiful world, the good world. It's about appreciating, caring for, and improving the material world, the physical world. Creation spirituality is rooted in empiricism, which almost makes it a contradiction in terms. Perhaps it's easiest to grasp by understanding that the root of the word spirit is also the root of the word spear and means breath, as in inspire. Anything that deeply enters us, moves us, and gives us life. is a kind of spirit. And sometimes we welcome some pretty odd spirits into our lives. Creation spirituality is spirituality speared and inspired by nature. All of it. The entire universe. It's not about disembodied spirits or about having certain spiritual ideas or beliefs. It's about letting nature and the wonder of the universe, the empirical world, which is often dismissed as sin or as illusion by various other spiritualities, inspire us, move us, and give our lives meaning. Nor is creation spirituality anthropocentric. It doesn't begin with human origins just 6,000 years ago like creationism does, nor even 250,000 years ago, as science tells us, but with the universe story that began almost 14 billion years ago. As Meister Eckhart says, every creature is a word of God and a book about God. Creation spirituality embraces the wonder of everything, the stars and the planets, the gluons and the quarks, the amoebas and the fruit flies, and all the animals on earth, including humans, who have only been part of this amazing story for a very, I can't put enough varies in there because I'd run out of lifetime to get it accurate. That's how little we've been here. For a very short time. Humans are neither the core nor the apex of the universe story. We're not the core. It didn't begin with us, and it's not going to end with us. So get over yourself. This is why the mystic Hildegard of Bingen said, "This word manifests itself in every creature." And why Mathilde of Magdeburg said, "The truly wise person kneels at the feet of all creatures." And why Francis of Assisi prayed, "All praise be yours, my Lord, through sister moon and stars. All praise be yours, my Lord, through brother wind and air. All praise be yours, my Lord, through sister water." That's why the Quran says, wherever you turn, there is the face of Allah. It is He who spread out the earth and set thereon mountains standing firm and flowing rivers. And fruit of every kind He made in pairs, 2 and 2. He draws the night like a veil over the day. Surely these things are a sign for those who look. And it is why in the Islamic hadiths, Allah Himself says, "I was a hidden treasure and I wanted to be known." That's why I created the world. Because everywhere you turn, there is the face of Allah. So creation spirituality is not creationism. It is not an unearthly spirituality, nor is it anthropocentric. What creation spirituality fundamentally is, however, is a form of mysticism, meaning it doesn't pretend to have all the answers. Rather, as Fox says, religious experience begins with awe and wonder. Thus, it is deeply ecumenical in its approach to finding truth. It embraces many religious traditions as well as non-religious disciplines like science and philosophy. Again, as Fox says in his aptly titled book, "One River, Many Wells." There is one underground river, but there are many wells into that river. An African well, a Taoist well, a Buddhist well, a Jewish well, a Muslim well, a goddess well, a Christian well, an Aboriginal well, many wells, but one river. In this sense, creation spirituality is no more a theistic belief than it is a purely Christian belief. It's possible for agnostics and atheists to embrace creation spirituality as much as it is for believers of any faith or those of little to no faith at all. I know because I am an atheist and a creation spiritualist, and personally studied again at Fox's University of Creation Spirituality several years ago. And it was during a class there that I was required to read The Essential Kabbalah by Daniel Matt, which contains one of my favorite theological statements of all time, one that some of you may recall me having said often. Every definition of God leads to heresy. Definition is spiritual idolatry. Like traditional mysticism, which is based on three paths: illumination, awakening to the beauty around us; purgation, letting go and going through; and unification, being at one with all that is. Creation spirituality has four paths, which Fox has identified as the via positiva, via negativa, via creativa, and via transformativa, spoken like a true Catholic theologian. Otherwise known as the positive way, the negative way, the creative way, and the transformative way. And I'm about to go into these at more length since they are the crux of creation spirituality. But first, keep in mind that Matthew Fox didn't invent creation spirituality or its four paths. Rather, it was while studying various mystics that he discovered these common qualities among them, which he then named in order to better articulate them to the rest of us. The first of these paths, the via positiva, occurs when we awaken to what the Navajo call Hoshoni, surrounded by beauty. The earth, its body is my body, Hoshoni, Hoshoni. The earth, its thoughts are my thoughts, Hoshoni, Hoshoni. The earth, its speech is my speech, Hoshoni, Hoshoni. The sky, its life am I, Hoshoni, Hoshoni. The mountains, its life am I. The sun, its life am I. White corn, its life am I. Yellow corn, its life am I. The corn beetle, its life am I. Hoshoni, Hoshoni, Hoshoni. Beauty all around me. Matthew Fox says the via positiva occurs in the awe, wonder, and mystery of nature and of all beings, each of whom is a word of God, a mirror of God that glistens and glitters. It is in the mountaintop experience, the feeling of being both overwhelmed by and at one with the beauty of nature, the beauty all around us. Rabbi Heschel called it radical amazement. That's the positive way, looking into nature, even into our own nature and into the nature of others, and being amazed. That's why science can be such a tremendous gateway into creation spirituality, because as Einstein said, the most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It's the source of all true art and science. One to whom this emotion is a stranger, who can no longer pause to stand wrapped in awe, is as good as dead. The via negativa, the negative path, reminds us that darkness, silence, mystery, and even pain and suffering and grief are necessary for our spiritual health. This is what St. John of the Cross and Juan de la Cruz referred to as the dark night of the soul. Creation spirituality requires us to go through things we often wish to avoid, overcoming our fears and grief by facing them. Sometimes doing what we believe is right can get us in trouble. The via negativa means having the courage to do it anyway. Sometimes it leaves us feeling alone, like Dr. King, who once felt such despair he was ready to give up and retreat into anonymity. It seemed at that moment, he said, that I could hear an inner voice singing to me, "Martin Luther, stand up for righteousness, stand up for justice, stand up for truth, and lo, I will be with you even to the end of the world." Not avoiding it, going through it. But the via negativa isn't just about facing difficulties and going through them. It's also about going into that darkness for rest, for recreation, for comfort. Darkness can be soothing and motherly. That's why Buddhists meditate, why Jews observe the Sabbath, why Taoists practice wu wei, doing without doing, and Christians teach us grace, that there's nothing we need to do or can do to be saved. In this sense, the via negativa is the mirror opposite of the via positiva, which means they look a lot alike. Instead of being awed and enraptured by nature, however, the via negativa is what we call the breathtaking experience of nature. And we all know what happens if our breath gets taken away for too long, right? The via negativa is also about letting go and letting be. Sometimes we're wound up too tight. We need to let go. Let ourselves feel the music. Let ourselves dance. You have to let go to dance. To be a good dancer, we have to embrace the negative path. The path of letting ourselves go, letting it all loose. And this is what John Denver gets at in that beautiful song, "Sweet, sweet surrender. Live, live without care, like a fish in the water, like a bird in the air." It's what the French get at when referring to sexual climax as le petit mort, the little death. Sometimes letting go is one of the best feelings there is. The via negativa means surrendering to life, letting go and letting be. As San Juan de la Cruz said while journeying through the wilderness, "Let your sight and beauty be my killer." The via creativa, the creative way, is what I like to call the visionary path. For it is not enough to remain drunken by the wonder and awe of nature's majesty, nor forlorn, lost, and secluded in the quietude and rest of her sweet majesty. These experiences are like cauldrons and wombs creating something new in us, a new vision for our lives and for our world. Matthew Fox describes them as the experience that helps us make a choice of what images to trust. Think about all of the images we are bombarded with today. Do we ever stop to even consider we should be asking which ones I should trust? The via creativa helps us do that. And in our imaginative output, he goes on to say, we trust our images enough to birth them and ride them into existence. So ultimately, the creative way, the visionary path, is about realizing creation is still occurring. The Big Bang is still happening. The universe is still getting bigger. And guess what? We're co-creators in that process. We get to help determine the direction and the outcome. So ultimately, the creative way, the visionary path, is about realizing our dreams, our visions. Realizing that our visions matter only when they become materialized. Which leads to the fourth path, the transformative path, the via transformativa. I always like to begin my explanation of this path by saying that it isn't at all about inner transformation. It's not about ourselves. It's about outer incarnation. It's about living our values and making our visions real, making our dreams of the world again come true. It's about transforming the world by making it a more just place for everyone. The via transformativa is the prophetic way. It is the prophetic path. It's about social justice and social witness and social action. It occurs only in service to others and to the world. It is a selfless act that reminds us our place is not in the heavens, but here, creating heaven on earth. For too many, spiritualities are taken like drugs to numb us to the painful effects of life, avoiding the negative path. But the creation spiritualist, having embraced the darkness, the negative way, is no longer afraid to take her head out of the clouds and ground herself firmly upon Mother Earth. Creation-centered spirituality, explains Fox, considers that a consciousness of faith needs to include a social, political, economic awareness that is critical and that offers workable and creative alternatives. That's my kind of spirituality. It's the practical awareness, as Meister Eckhart said, that compassion means justice. And that in both this world and in the next, we are responsible for all our relations. That's creation spirituality in a very tight nutshell. Or perhaps I should say, in a very tiny seed. For creation spirituality isn't something to be understood, but to be lived. And by living it, to let it grow. In a couple of weeks, again on the 29th, when Matthew Fox is here, we'll have lots of guests from our larger community here too, I'm sure. And he probably won't talk a lot about creation spirituality. Instead, he'll be sinning. Yes, sinning. Multiple times right here in this pulpit. By exploring different names for God. Something the Kabbalah again calls heresy. That's the spirit. Because our pulpit is the place for heretics. And I look forward to adding Fox's name to the long list of heretics who have occupied it. But today I wanted to introduce you to the heretical idea that got him excommunicated from the Catholic Church. I remember when I got fired from my job for standing up for marriage equality, and I was talking to Matthew Fox, and he said, "Congratulations." So, excommunicated for his radical idea that the earth is beautiful and good. And that each one of us is innately beautiful and good. And that it is only by recognizing Hashoni, the beauty and goodness all around us and within us, that we become capable of mirroring its beauty by transforming our entire world. Thank you.
We're going to close this morning with a favorite of many of yours, and mine too. It is, if you need to look at a hymnal, it's number 1064, Blue Boat Home. It is especially a favorite at our water service. So please stand in body or spirit to sing it with me.
feel the motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean. Still my dryland heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now. Never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I fly the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions. Oh, we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way through the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, and the great winds urging me on. Greet the infinite sea before me, sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
May we gather around the world in prayer and meditation to uphold the magical unity of all life, promote the sanctity of love and respect for the universe and all the world's inhabitants, and celebrate the triumph of goodness, effected through courage, honor, and non-violence. Namaste. Amen. Blessed be. Salam alaikum and shalom.
Shalom Haverim, Shalom Haverim, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom Haverim, Shalom Haverim, Shalom, Shalom.